Hello, hello. Welcome to day 5 of the Memoir Writing Challenge. Today we will be discussing your family upbringing. Family upbringing, okay? So today, let's just introduce again. We write for a cause bigger than ourselves. We write for a mission that includes the lives of other people. And as you know, the process to do that is we start small to grow big. We write for ourselves, such as journaling, affirmations, blogging, and then we move on to bigger things such as ebooks, novels, and nonfiction. So wherever you are on this journey, we salute you and thank you for being here. The journey of life rise revolution. If you are a writer by trade or a writer for leisure and your goal is to write a book one day, you are in the best place. I encourage you to start small to grow big. And writing for the last 4 days. Have you done any writing at all? I hope you have at least 4 pages of stories. It all starts with stories. It all starts with your story. Who are you? Why are you here? What happened in your life? How did you become who you are today? We want to know. And your story has gold. It has so much richness and variety, and everyone's story is different, and everyone has a book in them, and it all starts with your story. So I wanted you to start off with day 1, your survival story, day 2, your testimony of God's faithfulness, day 3, your happy memory, and day 4, your unique position in life. And then today is day 5, where we're going to talk about family and upbringing. And so I wanted to discuss with you, where are you in your journey of writing your memoir? How is it working out for you? Are you getting some progress? Are you getting some ideas? Are you getting some momentum? I hope that you are, because this is what this challenge is all about. It's all about writing to grow, writing for ideas. And so all of the stories that I've shared with you from the Bible, I find the Bible a very interesting place to find inspiration, motivation, and it all connects to ourselves. And so that's why I read some scriptures to you from the book of Esther and from Exodus about Moses and about, Esther, just because I want you to compare and contrast and see how it all comes together, and how your story has very unique points to it that you can write about. So you can't say I have nothing to write about, because you have plenty. And that's what it is all about. It's all about starting to just think about your story and where you are in your journey of writing your book. And as you remember, a writer's success formula is: what do you want to say? Why do you want to say it? How are you going to say it? Saying it, and then editing it. So it all comes down to, what do you want to say? Why do you want to say it? How are you going to say it? And then just saying it. All right. So that's the most important part. And so from there, I wanted you to just think about your life, think about your story and where you are, and how you can become a better memoir writer by thinking about the different pieces of your life and how it all comes together and how it's interesting. And so today's about family upbringing. So think about where you are in your family, who you are, and just reflect on it. Reflect on your relationships, reflect on reality, reflect on who are you connected to in your family. How was your upbringing? And like I spoke about Joseph, and how he had this relationship where his brothers were jealous of him, and he was sold into slavery by his brothers, but in the end he was able to save his family during a famine. So that is a relationship situation. And another relationship situation is with Esther, and how her cousin who adopted her, he was able to help her to go before the king, and just, give her that courage and say, tell her and give her advice that she took, and she went and she did what she had to do, and she saved the Jewish people. So it's all about relationships and where you are in your family. And also with Moses, he had his brother Aaron, who was also his sidekick as he went before Pharaoh to ask him to let the people go, let the people leave Egypt, so they can leave. So he was able to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. And it's all about the relationships that we have. And then there is also, so all of this has to do with family upbringing and where we are in our families. And the last biblical person that I want to bring up is David. David was the youngest of his brothers, and he was actually anointed to be king before he was even, pretty much, he was just a boy, and he was already anointed to be king. But God had big plans for him, and we see that when he actually is able to defeat Goliath in 1 Samuel chapter 17, and the the Philistines are, gathering forces against the people of God. And so David was the only one that was not afraid of Goliath. He was the only one because he already had known that God could help them in any situation. He was not afraid of Goliath at all. And even though Goliath stood and was like, oh, who's going to fight me? Who's going to fight me? David, he was not afraid. He was like, who is this person? And God is bigger than you. So he was able to defend his family, even though he was the youngest of the boys in his family. He was the littlest one, but he was not afraid to fight. And he took down Goliath, even though he was the youngest brother. So I'm going to read a little bit from 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 20, and it says, early in the morning, David left the flock. He was a shepherd, and he left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out as Jesse had directed, as his father had directed. He reached the camp, and as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry, Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies and ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were. As they were talking with them, Goliath the Philistine, champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. When Eliab, David's older brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here, and with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. So his brothers are like mad at him for coming down to the battle because they think he should be just taking care of the sheep. And so he says in verse 29, now what have I done, said David. Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Saul replied, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair and struck it and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine. Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. So the story goes that he actually takes a stone and he hits the giant Goliath with the stone, and he is killed. He wins the battle, and everyone is very happy about it. So as you see, his brothers didn't like that he was there. They thought, "Why are you here?" But he had a place because he was not afraid of Goliath. So the moral of the story is, what is your place in your family? And what is your upbringing? Maybe you were brought up to tend sheep. Maybe not, but David was brought up to tend sheep. And in his tending of sheep as a shepherd, he was able to see how God was able to protect him from a bear and a lion. In his upbringing, he was trained to be fearless, and that fearlessness helped him on the day that he was able to face Goliath. So, what in your upbringing has helped you to face your giants? What in your upbringing has helped you to overcome obstacles and to help your family or help yourself in what kind of way? So think about obstacles you have faced and how your upbringing and the things that you have been trained in your life have helped you in your life. And that is today's writing prompt for day 5 of the memoir writing challenge. I hope this is helpful to you to think about and reflect on and come up with great ideas for what you can write about in your upbringing and how your upbringing influence your growth and influence you to be able to become the person you are today. And that is all for today's memoir writing challenge. I hope it was helpful, and I will talk to you on another one.